Now, I want you to remember that back around the turn of the century, there was a game that posed a very important question. Mama, can I mow the lawn? Yep, that's a real game, and with its silly title and unconventional vehicle to drive, this early Gizmondo game was gearing up to turn lawn mowing into the next big video game pastime. Sadly, the game was cancelled, and all those busy video game developers have allowed the grass and weeds to grow to dangerous heights. But all that is about to change, because Grass Cutter Mutated Lawns is the yard work simulator we've all been waiting for. Don't let the goofy theme fool you, because Grass Cutter is surprisingly great. The goal is to mow the entire lawn, every single inch of it. That's a straightforward premise, but there are all kinds of obstacles standing in your way of getting that job done. In spirit, this is a maze game similar to something like Pac-Man or Pix the Cat. You move up, down, left, or right in order to hit every part of the lawn and avoid the traps in your way. What I like about this game is that the developers have not only hammered out all of the basics, but they've also gone that extra step to add new wrinkles in pretty much every level. We'll need to avoid water pits, rough terrain, flying drones, sprinkler systems, dogs, guns, and even mutants born out of untested pesticides. The good news is they have quite a few ways to fight back, including laser weapons, force fields, and Bomberman-style explosives. Grass Cutter does a good job of unlocking new abilities and awards after every few stages, so there's a real sense of accomplishment even in the early going. What I wasn't expecting was the game's difficulty to ramp up as quickly as it does. You're definitely going to need to use those new attacks and abilities to keep your trusty old lawnmower going in the later stages and boss fights, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Look, this is easily sometimes used best game yet, but it's not without a few minor problems. Although the gameplay is simple and usually precise, there were times when I would misjudge the timing based on the visual representation and use of the shadows. Speaking of which, it would have been nice to see a little bit more variety to the stages. It sometimes feels like the developer had to choose between either adding new obstacles to every level or creating different backgrounds. And what they did was they chose to add a few more lawn mutants. Look, I can't fault them for that decision, but a different color palette would have gone a long way. I'm also not a big fan of the uneven difficulty. Instead of gradually becoming more difficult, this game will jump from being too easy to frustratingly difficult, then back again in a blink of an eye. There are levels you'll beat on your first try in less than a minute, while others I'll spend the better part of an hour working on. Part of the reason for this is because it's so easy to mess up and have to restart the stage all over from the very beginning, especially when you're pushing those boxes around the lawn. You'll push one of those boxes right up against the side of a level or into the wrong lake and be completely out of options. What this game needs is a rewind button, as well as a way to skip some of the especially difficult stages and save them for later. Despite a few of the missteps, Grass Cutter gets a lot right. The gameplay is quick and there are a lot of obstacles to avoid. It's a simple concept that is fun in short bursts and offers plenty of content. This is, without a doubt, the best game published by Sometimes You. Grass Cutter Mutated Lawns is a quirky new throwback to the early days of the arcade scene. It's not especially deep, and the levels can be a bit repetitive at times, but the fast-paced gameplay is addictive, and it does a great job of introducing new ideas in each stage. It's also a steal at only $7. Grass Cutter offers 60 challenging levels and bonus jobs on top of that. Yard work is usually monotonous and boring, but Grass Cutter Mutated Lawns is surprisingly awesome. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What game should have a lawn mowing mini-game? It's probably worth mentioning that Bully had a few missions where he mowed people's lawns. That was a lot of fun. I'm curious to see what games you come up with, so leave your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back tomorrow with an Independence Day themed episode of Defunct Games Decides. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.